5-4 New York Mets. First game of the season between the teams. They play them 12 more times, the Phillies do. And if they fail to get those runs early, the runs at the end, it doesn't matter. They lost the game. If the bullpen continues to do that, a lot of them are going to turn out exactly the way tonight turned out. 13-10 on the season are the Phillies, 4-6 on the road. And Ricky Bottalico and Ben Davis, the Phillies now are 2-7 in their last 9 games against the Mets, going back to last season, including the playoffs. Does that tell you anything that we need to know?
No, I mean, not really, because you literally have to take this game by game, and in this game, you were just beaten. You could look at this in a couple different ways. Nola was odd. It was an odd night for Aaron Nola. Gave up a couple home runs, and then all of a sudden, he kind of settled down after that Soto ball got called foul, thank goodness. And then, he leaves a couple runners on base, and then Ruiz comes in and ruins everything. So who knows? If that home run doesn't go out of the ballpark, Phillies probably would have been right in the thick of this game at the end. And I know it was 5-4, but, Michael, you're kind of right in this type of situation that at least you got the tying run to the plate, and it was the right guy. It didn't end up right. It ended up the same way as if the game was 20-0 Mets.
Doesn't matter.
No difference.
Ben, your take on this one, and tomorrow this time could be a different thing, completely different deal, I understand. But tonight, wow.
Yeah, it was a wow, and I think that the Phillies just got Lindored tonight. I mean, that's if you look at it that way. 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 4 out of the 5 runs produced by Francisco Lindor. He stepped up in a big way tonight, and he did it from Jump Street. The first batter of the game for the Mets, he goes up top and gives them a lead, 1-0. And then the Phillies' offense was really stagnant throughout the course of the game, and Aaron had his ups and downs and ended up giving up 4 earned runs. But overall, it was nice to see the fight there in that 9th inning. Obviously, a big home run there off Diaz, who's really been struggling versus the Mets. Although you wouldn't know it, there's 3 sliders he threw. Harper I know you were yelling, but they were nasty.
The last one was.
They were nasty, but they got Lindor tonight. I don't know what else you could say.
Well, let's see what John Kruk has to say. We welcome him back to the booth and certainly back to Postgame Live. We go to Citi Field for the crossover presented by Chapman Auto Stores. John, anything that you think, looking back on it, they could have done differently to score more runs or prevent them from being scored?
You'd have liked to see that double play turn, but Taylor runs so well, and he just beat it out before Lindor hit the 3-run homer. But, look, it was ugly offensively for the first 8 innings. And then, that 9th inning, I think if there's one positive to take away from this game is the fact that with a 5-run lead, they had to get Edwin Diaz up in the bullpen. And you got to see him. First time you've seen him this year. You made him throw a bunch of pitches. Bryson hits the 3-run homer off of him. And, I think if there's any positive to take out of it, it is that they got into the Mets. They had to bring in the closer, going into the 9th inning down 5. So I think that's the positive. But, other than that, Aaron battled. It wasn't pretty. But he battled. He got into the 7th, and, then that 7th inning kind of got away from him.
Yeah, I got a kind of sick feeling about this bullpen, the way it's going right now. And you're trying to look for some light, but Ruiz comes in and he gives up what turned out to be a pretty big home run in this game. What are your thoughts just on the bullpen in the last, we'll just say, week or so?
Well, it's not been pretty, let's be honest, but I don't know as a manager, it was a 2-run game in the 7th when he had to bring Ruiz in the game to spell Aaron. What does Rob Thomson do? Does he bring in a late inning, the 9th inning guy, Alvarado or Strom, who's been pitching well? Do you bring in one of those 2 guys in the 7th inning? And then, what do you have for 8 and 9? Because look, they're struggling down there in the bullpen until they get it right. The offense is going to have to, the starting pitching is going to have to be great, which it has been. But the offense, they have to throw some points on the board, because I really don't know the answer to the bullpen right now, other than Alvarado and Strom have been pretty strong, and it's just a struggle right now for Rob to try to mix and match with who he thinks might be hot at the time.
John, I know that the Phillies struggled early on offensively with the bats, but one thing that was concerning to me was the fact that they were late on a lot of fastballs. McGill threw 66% fastballs, 51% four-seamers, 15% two-seamers, and the Phillies got in a lot of good hitters' counts, but still were late on fastballs.
Yeah, that's what's the hardest thing for me offensively. Like when you get ahead in the count, you gear up for fastball and you start a little earlier, you cheat on it. If you think, if you guess in and they throw it in, you got to cheat on that pitch, especially with McGill was throwing mid upper 90s at times. It's difficult sometimes to, I don't know if you guess 2-0, 3-0, 3-1. I don't know if guys guess now. I never guessed in those situations. If I got the green light 3-0, I just looked for a location. And, if it was middle in, then I cheated and tried to get to that pitch middle in. If it was away, I tried to stay on it a little more. But, but listen, everyone does it. Everyone gets late on fastballs at times. You just hope that tomorrow, they when they get ahead in the count like that, they drop the hammer on these Mets pitchers.
You hope so. John, lastly, I think the fan base might need a little pumping up right now because it's only a rivalry when both teams win their fair share. That's what makes it a rivalry. We keep saying, it's great National League East rivalry. But you go back the last 9 games, including the playoffs, and it's Phillies 2 wins, the Mets 7 wins. Doesn't seem like much of a rivalry. Is this going to come out okay in your view, John?
Well, I think if you're the Phillies right now, you look at it and say, okay, they're 1-0 against us this year. You can't go by the past and whatever crap like that, because we always thought it was a rivalry with the Mets when we sucked and they sucked. So, now both teams are good. So, yeah, the rivalry gets a little more, interesting to fans. Well, it gets more interesting to the fans, but, like you said, the Phillies, they're 0-1 against the Mets this year. So, they win tomorrow, and they win the next day with Christopher and Zach, and we go to Chicago with a winning record against the old powerful Metropolitans.
That's what I'm talking about. That leaves us with a pump, man. You kidding me? That's John Kruk back in the booth. Okay, I'll calm down. All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. It's only one game, John. Don't. That's later. I got to get Ben his juice. I got to get Ricky his juice. Okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks, buddy. John Kruk in the booth. Let's take a look. What are you?
Hang
on. Ricky's upset.
A stat that goes somewhere and everybody throws it in the trash can or throws it in the toilet and flushes it is inherited runners scored. Mm-hmm. Do you know that's 10 for Jose Ruiz this year? We're in April.
Yeah.
We're in April.
10 inherited runners scored.
I would have been sick to my stomach. That was the one thing that I wanted to do every time out. If I was given inherited runners, I did not want them to score because those are other guys looking at you in the locker room and knowing that you didn't help my cause.
Nolan got through 6, got hit hard a little bit there. What made you want to send him back out?
Just because we're a little short in time. I thought he was still in good shape.
What did you think of him tonight?
I thought he was good. He left in the first inning, left a curveball in Lindor's happy zone. Second inning, he got behind 2-0 to Winker and just threw a ball down the middle. But other than that, I thought he was really good. He was pretty efficient. He had, 89 pitches going in the 7th. I thought he was in good shape.
Do you think he can see that kind of through the line, because the line doesn't look great, I guess. He gave up a couple home runs. He's at 0-5.
Yeah, I think the record's a little misleading. We haven't scored runs for him, for one thing, and we scored 4 tonight, but it was late. But I think he's pitched better than his line and better than his record, to tell you the truth.
What's made McGill such a tough matchup?
The fastball's sneaky. They say it gets on you, and I thought he was probably locating the slider, and changeup's good. He doesn't throw the split anymore. It's a straight change. got some bottom to it, and just he kept guys off balance.
Go back to Nola, what you think of his velocity, where it was at tonight?
I think it's really more due to the weather. You know, I don't think he gets going in cooler weather. I think he likes it hot.
If it were to stay around this, do you still feel like he could be successful?
Absolutely, but it won't stay like this. He'll pick it up.
Ruiz's velocity was also down a little bit. Are you concerned about that?
I saw some 95s.
He was averaging like down a tick.
Yeah, well, not really. Again, cold night.
Did you see your guys maybe expanding the zone a little more than they have in the last few weeks?
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, but you're going to see that every once in a while.
The Aaron Nola excuse train continues. He is now 0-5 on this season.